Okay, this is lesson 1 in atmosphere. Temperature and pressure, how they're related, and what's going on with our atmosphere in those ways. The first question is, why doesn't the atmosphere fly off into space? So our atmosphere is kind of glued to Earth, and if you imagine Earth sitting here in space, we have this little thin thing all around the outside that's the atmosphere. And all out here is what's called a vacuum. That a vacuum is an area that has no air, no gas, no molecules in it at all. This vacuum out here, there's nothing, and then all of a sudden, as we get really close to Earth, we have an atmosphere. So what keeps this little bit of atmosphere from flying off, from pushing off the Earth and going into space? Well, the answer is, of course, gravity. Gravity is holding all of the air atoms down. So in class, we saw a demonstration how air atoms have mass. We pump the air out of basically a water bottle worth of air, and it weighed about 1.5 grams. All of that weight is getting pulled on by gravity. Okay, so gravity is what's holding this atmosphere down and in. It's kind of like a dog pile or a monkey pile. Okay, here's what I'm talking about. Okay, so we have people kind of in a pile here. We have people in the bottom, we have people in the top. Now the person at the very top of this pile is not feeling very much pressure at all. They're having a good time. But as you go down the pile here, these people are feeling a lot of pressure because they have this person on top of them, they have this person on top of them, and then they have this person on top of them. At the top of the monkey pile, at the top of the atmosphere, there's low pressure. But as you move down, and as more and more people are stacked up, towards the bottom we have high pressure. Our atmosphere is the exact same like this. At the top, this guy's on top, he's not feeling anything. But as you move down the atmosphere, now you have all sorts of atoms, all sorts of mass piled up on top of you and being pulled down by gravity. So that being pulled down by gravity causes pressure to increase as you go down from low pressure all the way down to high pressure. Okay, so moving on to what is pressure. Pressure is how hard atoms are pressing on all sides of everything. So here we have a box. This box, if it's a box in our room, we have air pressure pushing on it this way. Air pressure from below, air pressure from the side, air pressure from the top. Air pressure everywhere. Now, if there's no air inside of here, this is called a vacuum, but we don't have to go into that. A vacuum is where there is no air. Anyway, pressure is how hard the atoms are pressing on all sides of everything. So, what happens with pressure as you change elevation? Elevation means how high you are up above the Earth. Right now, we are at a pretty low elevation, but if you get in a plane, that plane goes up to a high elevation. Well, pressure and elevation, as you move higher and higher in the atmosphere, so like as you climb up a mountain, for example, the pressure gets lower and lower. So those high elevations, the top of a mountain, have low pressures. But as you go down the mountain, it's like we saw, we're going down and getting more and more air above us, pushing down on us. The low elevations have high pressure. Okay, this is a person that's at the top of Mount Everest. And you can see some people that are up there, they end up wearing these masks because there's so little air. You take a deep breath, your lungs only hold so much volume of air, and there's so little air going in that they choose to have oxygen just right there pumped right into their lungs. Because otherwise it's harder to get enough air into your lungs. So this is a picture of someone going all the way up Everest with oxygen that they're able to breathe and stay strong because the pressure is so low. Okay, so pressure and elevation, the higher you are, the low pressure, lower you are, high pressure. Pressure and temperature, if you notice in that picture, they are not warm on top of these mountains. Okay, snow year round. The pressure and temperature is similar. As you move higher and higher, the temperature gets lower and lower. So high elevations have low temperatures, and low elevations end up having high temperatures. And that's because pressure and temperature are connected in that way. And that's it for lesson 1 notes. Okay, so here we have our air tank. Lots of air molecules bouncing around inside of here. But one thing we've missed so far as we do this is that this air tank doesn't have any gravity. So if we turn the gravity on, all of a sudden all those particles are being pulled down, 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 down. Okay? And we see exactly what we've been talking about. At the top here is particles that are sort of on top of everything else. They're pushing down a little bit. As we move down, now these particles have some particles on top of them, but not very many. These are the guys at the bottom of the dog pile, the monkey pile. They are getting pressed on by all these different atoms. And this matches what's in our notes. As we go up a mountain, the high elevations equal low pressure, the low elevations equal high pressure. We see this right here. Here's the bottom of the mountain right here. Okay? We've got all these molecules pressed together. This is what we're breathing right now. But you go up a mountain, all of a sudden the air is getting thinner. And we can also see what's going on with pressure and temperature in your notes. The higher elevations have low temperatures. And we can see that right here. These guys are, they're relaxing compared to these down here. These are moving really fast. These are hot compared to those. So the lower elevations are really warm and the upper elevations are relatively cool.